You're in bed. The blankets are pulled up, the heat is on, and the rest of you is warm and settled. But your feet. Your feet are 2 blocks of ice at the bottom of the bed. And no matter what you do, no matter how many blankets you pile on or how long you wait, they will not warm up. So you lie there, everything about you ready for sleep except those 2 frozen feet keeping you awake. And you tell yourself the same thing you always do. I just run cold. It's winter. It's nothing. But here's what I want you to consider tonight. This isn't simply that you run cold. Your feet are often the very first place your body reports a change in your circulation or in your nerves, long before anything else speaks up. They're the messengers. And before you write it off as just one of those things, let me show you what your feet are actually trying to tell you. Now, when it comes to cold feet, I've noticed people fall into one of 2 camps, and neither one serves them well. The first camp ignores it completely. Cold feet? That's just how I am, always have been, nothing to think about. The second camp does the opposite. They type their symptoms into the internet at 11 at night, and 10 minutes later, they're convinced something is seriously wrong with them. And I understand both reactions, because nobody ever gave them the calm, honest version in between. That's the gap I want to fill. Because the internet will happily leap to the worst possible thing, to frighten you into clicking. And a rushed appointment does the opposite. You mention your cold feet, and you get a shrug and 4 words. It's circulation, wear socks. No explanation, no reason, nothing you can actually use. So here's the honest truth, and it sits calmly in the middle. Your feet are your body's far outpost. They are the farthest point from your heart, the very last stop on the line for warm blood to reach. And they're the end of your longest nerves, the tips of the wiring that runs all the way down from your spine. That's why your feet feel changes before anywhere else does. They're the messengers standing at the edge of everything. Most of what they're reporting is completely manageable. A little of it is worth checking, but all of it is explainable, and none of it should scare you. So before we get into the reasons, do me one quick favor. Subscribe if you want the calm, honest explanations your appointment never has time for. And here's my favor, and it matters more than usual today. Tell me in the comments whether it's both feet or just one. Both or only one. And put your age beside it. That single detail, 1 foot or 2, is a real clue, and you'll understand exactly why in a few minutes. So don't skip it. Now, most of what causes cold feet is simple and fixable at home. But there is one pattern that means pick up the phone and call your doctor, and I'll tell you precisely what it is. But first, 30 seconds on why your feet, of all places, feel it first. So why the feet? Why not your hands, your nose, your knees? Why do the feet, of all places, feel it first? Here's the answer, and once you understand it, every single cause we talk about today will make sense. Your feet are the end of the line. They are the farthest point in your entire body from your heart, which means warm blood has to travel the longest possible distance to reach them, all the way down, against gravity, to the very bottom. And they are also the end of your longest nerves, the tips of wiring that runs all the way from your spine down to your toes. So your feet are 2 things at once. They're the last stop for warm blood, and they're the far end of your body's temperature-sensing wiring. That combination is exactly why they're the first to complain, and it gets more pronounced at night. When you lie still, your circulation naturally slows down. You're not moving, not pumping blood through your legs with each step. On top of that, your core temperature drops a little as you prepare for sleep, and your body pulls blood inward to protect your vital organs. The feet, being farthest out, are last in line for what's left. Now, here's the framework I want you to carry through the rest of this video, because it sorts everything neatly into 2 families. Cold feet almost always come down to one of 2 problems: a plumbing problem or a wiring problem. A plumbing problem means not enough warm blood is arriving. The pipes are narrowed, the flow is weak, and the warmth simply isn't getting down there. That's circulation. A wiring problem is different and stranger. Here, the blood may be arriving just fine, but the nerves that sense temperature are misfiring. They send your brain a cold signal that isn't even true. In fact, Harvard's own doctors point out that with nerve issues, your feet can feel freezing cold to you while not actually being cold to the touch at all. The room is warm, the foot is warm, and yet you feel ice. That's the wiring. And this is more common than you'd ever guess. Studies of older adults find that reduced sensation in the feet affects somewhere between 27 and 39% of them, nearly 4 in 10. And here's the part that surprises people. That's true even among plenty of folks who don't have diabetes, which everyone assumes is the only cause. It isn't. Here's the picture that ties it all together. Think of your feet as the last house on a long water line, way out at the end of the street. When the pressure drops anywhere in the whole system, which house loses its hot water first? The last one, the one farthest from the source. Every time, your feet are that house. So when they go cold, they're not the problem itself. They're the first place the problem shows up. So let's walk through what's behind it, starting with number 4, the one that's simplest to fix tonight. Let's start with number 4, and I'm putting it first on purpose, because for a great many of you, this is the whole answer, and it's the most reassuring one there is. Sometimes cold feet at night are not a sign of any disease at all. They're a sign of your bedroom and your bedtime habits, and nothing more. Here's what's happening. We already said that at night, your core temperature naturally drops, and your body pulls blood inward to keep your vital organs warm and protected while you sleep. That's normal, healthy biology. But it means the far outpost, your feet, gets the smallest share of what's left. So your feet were always going to be the coolest part of you at night, even in perfect health. That's the starting point. Now start piling ordinary things on top of it. A cool bedroom, thin cotton socks, or no socks at all. A cup of coffee or tea in the evening, because caffeine gently tightens your blood vessels and nudges circulation the wrong way. A nightcap, that glass of wine before bed, which does the same thing once it wears off. Not enough water during the day, because when you're even a little dehydrated, your body prioritizes your core and gives your hands and feet even less. Stack those up, and you get feet like ice cubes with absolutely nothing wrong with your health. It's just physics and habits. Let me tell you about Ruth. Ruth was 71, from Duluth, Minnesota, and if you know Duluth, you know it gets genuinely cold up there. Ruth had convinced herself something was seriously wrong. Every night, freezing feet, and she'd lie awake, worrying about circulation and worse. But when we actually walked through her evenings, the picture was almost comical in how simple it was. She kept her bedroom cold to save on heating. She slept with bare feet because she'd always found socks in bed uncomfortable. And she had a cup of coffee after dinner every single night, out of lifelong habit. 3 ordinary things. Together, they were freezing her feet and frightening her half to death about it. Here's the way I want you to picture it. It's like leaving the farthest room in the house with the door open in the middle of winter. The furnace is working fine. The rest of the house is warm. But that one far room, with its door hanging open to the cold, never warms up because you're fighting the furnace the whole time. That was Ruth's feet. Nothing broken, just a door left open. So here's what to do, and this is why number 4 is the easiest of them all, because the fixes cost almost nothing. First, wear warm socks to bed, but make them wool, not cotton. This matters more than people think. Cotton holds onto moisture and actually keeps your feet damp and cold, while wool wicks it away and holds warmth. Second, give your feet a warm foot bath before bed. Warm, not hot, just a basin of comfortably warm water for 10 minutes. It brings blood down into your feet and sends you to bed with them already warm. Third, warm the bed itself before you get in, with a hot water bottle or a warmed blanket, so your feet aren't trying to heat cold sheets from scratch. Fourth, move a little before sleep. A short walk around the house, or even just some ankle circles, pumps fresh warm blood down into your feet. And finally, ease off the evening coffee and the nightcap, and drink enough water through the day. Ruth did those few things. Warmer bedroom, wool socks, a warm soak, and she moved her coffee to the morning. Her freezing feet and all the worry that came with them simply melted away. It was never a disease. It was a door left open. But if you've warmed the room and the socks and your feet are still cold, then the problem may be deeper in the system. And that's number three. Number three moves us inside the body, past the bedroom and the socks, to something that no amount of warm blankets will fix, because the cold isn't coming from outside. It's coming from within. And the clue that points here is a specific one. If your feet are cold, but so is the rest of you, if you feel cold all over, all the time, in a way that other people around you don't, then your feet aren't the real story. They're just the loudest complainer for a whole body problem. The most common culprit is your thyroid. Your thyroid is a small gland in your neck, and its job is to set the pace of your entire metabolism, how much heat and energy your body produces. When it slows down, a condition called an underactive thyroid, everything slows with it. Your metabolism drops, your circulation eases off, and your whole body starts running cooler than it should. And because your feet are the far outpost, they feel it worst and first. But the telltale sign is that it doesn't stop at your feet. It usually comes with other things. Feeling tired no matter how much you rest. Dry skin. Thinning hair. Unexplained weight changes. Feeling cold when everyone else in the room is comfortable. The second internal cause is low iron, what's called anemia. Your red blood cells are what carry oxygen and warmth around your body. When you're low on iron, you have fewer of those cells doing the work, so less warmth reaches your edges. Again, the feet, being farthest out, feel the shortage first. Now here's why I need you to hear this. Both of these, low thyroid and low iron, are incredibly common as we age. Both are very treatable, and both are found with a simple, ordinary blood test. But they get missed constantly for one frustrating reason. People blame their age. They feel tired and cold and run down, and they think, well, I'm 74, this is just what it feels like now. And so they never mention it and never get the $10 blood test that would have named it in an afternoon. Let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor was 74, from Knoxville, Tennessee. Her feet were cold all the time, and honestly, so was the rest of her. She was tired in a way that sleep didn't fix. Her skin had gone dry, and she'd quietly decided this was simply old age arriving, right on schedule. She'd stopped mentioning it to anyone, because what was there to say? Getting older isn't a diagnosis. But at a routine visit, a simple thyroid panel came back showing an underactive thyroid. It had been there for who knows how long, quietly turning her thermostat down. With treatment, over the following weeks, the warmth came back into her, feet included, and so did her energy. The thing she'd written off as the end of the road was a small, fixable adjustment. Here's the analogy I want you to hold. Your thyroid is the thermostat for your whole house. It doesn't heat one room. It sets the temperature for all of them at once. So when someone turns that thermostat down, every room in the house cools off. And which rooms do you notice first? The ones farthest from the furnace. The far outpost. Your feet. But you don't fix that by carrying a space heater from room to room, chasing the cold. You fix it by turning the thermostat back up in one place and warming the entire house at once. So here's what to do, and it's simple. If your cold feet come along with feeling tired, dry skin, or being cold all over your body, don't chalk it up to age. Ask your doctor for a simple thyroid and iron blood panel. Just say those words. It's a basic test, it's cheap, and if that's what's going on, it's very fixable. You could warm your whole house back up with one small turn of the dial. Now, number two isn't about warmth at all. It's about the nerves that report it. And it surprises people. Number two is the strangest one on this list. And once you understand it, it changes how you think about the whole problem. Because here's the twist. Sometimes your feet aren't actually cold at all. The cold is real to you. You feel it completely. But if someone reached down and touched your feet, they'd find them perfectly warm. The cold isn't in the foot. It's in the message. Remember the two families I gave you? Plumbing and wiring? This is the wiring problem in full. Your feet are the end of your longest nerves, and those nerves are what sense temperature and send the reading up to your brain. When those nerves get damaged or start misfiring, a condition called neuropathy, they can send a false report. They tell your brain the foot is freezing when it simply isn't, and your brain believes them because your brain has no way to check. It only knows what the nerves tell it. So you lie there feeling ice-cold feet that are, in truth, warm to the touch. This is exactly what Harvard's doctors describe. With nerve damage, they note, a person feels a cold sensation, even though the feet don't feel cold when you touch them. And it usually travels with company. Numbness, tingling, a pins and needles feeling, sometimes a burning that gets worse at night, right when you're trying to sleep. If any of that sounds familiar alongside the cold, you're likely dealing with the wiring, not the temperature. And this is not rare. Remember that number from earlier. Reduced sensation in the feet affects somewhere between 27 and 39% of older adults. Now, diabetes is the biggest driver of nerve damage, so if you're diabetic, this is especially worth your attention. But, and this surprises people, plenty of these cases happen in folks who don't have diabetes at all. So don't rule it out just because your blood sugar is fine. Let me tell you about Walter. Walter was 78, from Erie, Pennsylvania, and Walter fought his cold feet with blankets for years. More socks, heavier quilts, a heating pad, and none of it ever worked, which frustrated him to no end. Of course it didn't work. You cannot warm your way out of a wiring problem. His feet weren't actually cold. The nerves were sending a false signal, and no blanket on earth can fix a faulty signal. What he needed wasn't more heat. It was to have the wiring looked at. Here's the analogy, and it's the clearest way to hold this. Imagine a thermometer on the wall of a warm, comfortable room, and it's reading 50 degrees. The room isn't cold. The thermometer is broken. And if you responded by hauling in space heaters and blankets to warm a room that's already warm, you'd get nowhere because the problem was never the temperature. The problem is the broken gauge on the wall. That's neuropathy. The reading is wrong, not the room. Now, I want to be reassuring but also straight with you, because this one carries a safety note that matters. Neuropathy is common and it's manageable, so don't panic. But new or worsening numbness deserves a real check with your doctor, and here's why it's more than comfort. If your feet are numb, you can injure them without feeling it. A blister, a small cut, a stone in your shoe, a burn from a heating pad you couldn't feel getting too hot. That's exactly why I told you earlier, never put a heating pad directly against feet that are numb. You could burn them and never know until later. So here's what to do. If your cold comes with numbness, tingling, or burning, mention those exact words to your doctor. Protect your feet, check them regularly for any injury you might not feel, and if you're diabetic, keeping your blood sugar in range is one of the best things you can do to protect that wiring. But there's one cause I most want you to hear, because it's the one truly worth acting on. Number one. And here we are at number one, the one I most wanted you to hear, and the reason I asked you way back at the start, whether it was one foot or both, because this is where that answer matters. This is the plumbing problem in its most important form, and it's the one genuinely worth acting on. It's called peripheral artery disease, PAD for short. And here's what it is in plain terms. The arteries carrying warm blood down to your legs and feet become narrowed, usually by a slow buildup of plaque on their inner walls, the same kind of buildup you hear about with the heart. Narrower pipes mean less warm blood getting through to the far outpost, so the feet feel genuinely, persistently cold. Not a false signal this time. The blood really isn't arriving. Now here's the crucial part, the tell that separates this from everything else we've discussed. With PAD, very often one foot is colder than the other. And that makes perfect sense once you see it, because the narrowing is usually worse in one leg than the other. So one foot gets even less warm blood than its partner. That's why I asked you to tell me, one foot or both. If you've been sitting there thinking, now that he mentions it, my left foot is always colder than my right, I want you to pay close attention to the rest of this. There are other tells too, and I want you to know them. Feet that feel cold, even in warm weather, even in summer. Feet that look pale or white when you're lying down, and maybe reddish or bluish when they hang down. Cramping or aching in your calves when you walk that eases when you stop and rest. Sores or cuts on the feet that are slow to heal. And changes in the skin. shiny skin, or hair no longer growing on your toes or lower legs. You don't need all of these. But if a few of them ring true, especially the 1 foot colder pattern, this is your sign. And here's why this one matters more than the others, though I'll say it calmly, because I'm not here to frighten you. Pad isn't just about comfort. Those same arteries, that same buildup, it's a signal about the health of your circulation everywhere, including around your heart. So finding it isn't bad news. Finding it is good news, because it's a chance to act early. Caught in time, pad is very manageable, with lifestyle changes and, when needed, medical care that genuinely works. Let me tell you about Raymond. Raymond was 78, from Spokane, Washington, and for years he'd noticed his left foot was always colder than his right. And for years he told himself the same thing everyone does. It's just age. But it isn't age. Age doesn't pick one foot and leave the other alone. That's a circulation difference. And a difference between 2 feet always has a reason. Raymond finally mentioned it, and his doctor did something wonderfully simple. He felt for the pulses in Raymond's feet and then did a painless little test called an ankle brachial index, which just compares the blood pressure at your ankle to the pressure in your arm. It found reduced flow in that leg. Raymond started treatment, and not only did his foot warm up, he'd caught something early that was quietly telling him about his whole circulatory health. Here's the analogy. Think of a garden hose running out to the farthest sprinkler in the yard. If that hose gets kinked or pinched partway along, which patch of lawn goes dry and cold first? The farthest one, fed by that one hose. The other sprinklers are fine. Just that one patch. That's one cold foot. A pinched line to the far corner. So here is what to do. And this is the one on our list where I'm telling you plainly. This is a see your doctor step, not a home fix. If one foot is colder than the other, or you recognize those other tells, make an appointment. Ask for a pulse check and an ankle brachial index test. They're simple, painless, and they can open the door to help that works. So let's turn all of this into a calm plan for tonight and a clear line for when to pick up the phone. So let's turn all of this into something you can actually do, starting tonight, and it comes in 2 parts. First, how to warm your feet safely. Second, and just as important, the clear signs that mean it's time to call your doctor instead. Tonight, start with warmth. Put on a pair of warm wool socks, not cotton. Remember, wool holds the heat and wicks away the damp. Give your feet a warm, never hot, foot soak for 10 minutes before bed to draw the blood down into them. And warm your bed before you climb in with a hot water bottle or a warmed blanket so your feet aren't starting from cold sheets. But hear this one clearly. Never put a heating pad directly against feet that are numb. If you've lost some feeling down there, you can burn yourself without ever knowing it. Warm the bed, not the numb foot directly. Second, help your circulation along. Take a short walk around the house before bed, or if that's hard, just do some slow ankle circles sitting in your chair to pump fresh warm blood down to your feet. Go easy on the evening coffee and the nightcap, since both work against your circulation. Drink enough water through the day, and keep your bedroom comfortable, not cold. Now, the part I promised you. The clear signs that this stops being a home fix and becomes a phone call. Please make an appointment if any of these are true. One foot is colder than the other. Your feet are cold even in warm weather. You have numbness, tingling, or burning along with the cold. You have any sore or cut on your feet that won't heal. You notice changes in the skin or color of your feet or legs. Or your cold feet come with feeling tired and run down and having dry skin, which points to your thyroid. None of those mean disaster. They simply mean it's worth a professional look rather than another blanket. And one firm word of care. If you have diabetes, check your feet every single day for any cut, blister, or sore you might not feel, and never use direct heat on numb feet. That daily look takes 10 seconds and it protects you. Because here's what I most want you to carry into tonight. Here's what I want you to carry into tonight. Those cold feet were never a silly thing to complain about, and they were never a life sentence either. They're your body's far outpost, standing at the very end of the line, doing exactly what it's supposed to do, reporting in. And now, for the first time maybe, you can actually read the report. Most of what it's telling you is simple. Warmer socks, a warm soak, moving a little before bed, easing off the evening coffee. Some of it is a quick, ordinary blood test that could warm your whole body back up. And the one pattern truly worth checking, one foot colder than the other, is checkable early while it's most fixable of all. That's not something to fear. That's a gift of early warning most people walk right past. So don't let anyone, including that voice in your own head, tell you you're fussing over nothing. You're not fussing. You're paying attention to your own body. And paying attention, catching the small signals while they're still small, is exactly the thing that keeps you independent and well and yourself for years to come. And there's one more thing your feet can tell you that's worth knowing before you go. Before you go, one small thing. If this gave you a calmer, clearer way to understand your own feet, hit that like button, because it's how this reaches the next person lying awake tonight with 2 cold feet and a head full of worry. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming. And share this with someone you love whose feet are always cold at night because they've probably never had it explained either. Now, I told you your feet are the body's far outpost, and they report on far more than temperature. Next time, I'll show you 5 things your feet can reveal about your whole body health, signs most people walk right past until it's too late. I'll see you there.